Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are moving on from the more common health conditions that I have been talking about. So far I've covered high blood pressure, cholesterol levels, diabetes, and brought all of that together with my video on metabolic syndrome. Click here to catch up on that one, it's a goodie. But today I want to shift gears a little and start talking about hormones. Hormones have become a bit of a hot topic when it comes to health. There's a lot of talk about hormonal imbalances, and with that, of course, comes the flood of information on how exactly to balance hormones. And I'm glad hormones are getting some attention because they do play a huge part in our health, and there is a few of them to wrap your head around. So I want to be able to provide some knowledge on them for you all so that you have only the information that you need to know and you can walk away and feel like you are better equipped to make decisions about your own health and to, of course, play the long game. Now, today I'll be focusing on the thyroid hormone. This is a very versatile hormone. It's involved in a lot of processes around the body, from metabolism to even reproductive health. And if something goes wrong with this hormone, you can potentially feel it everywhere. So today I will focus on what thyroid hormone is, where it comes from, and what it is needed for. So let's get into it. So we already know that thyroid hormone is in fact a hormone, it's in the name, but they are actually a group of hormones. Now there are a couple of types. The two main ones that you will want to know about are called thyroxine, also known more simply as T4, and triiodothyronine, known more simply as T3. So T4 and T3, this is what they look like in terms of their chemical structure, and they do have a few differences. T4 structurally has 4 iodine atoms, and that's why it's called T4. This is actually the most abundant thyroid hormone that is found in your body. So there's more T4 flying around compared to T3. T3 has 3 iodine atoms, and so that's why it's T3. Thankfully, these hormones have a very simple naming system for once. Now, T3 is actually the more biologically active form of thyroid hormone, and that's because it can directly affect the organs and tissues in the body that need it. T4 needs to actually be converted into T3 before it does anything to you. But because there is so much more T4 in your body, its job is to be on standby and get converted for when it's needed. But in the end, they both end up having the same effects on you. Now, the balance between these two in your body is very important for making sure your thyroid function is optimal, because if you have too much T3, the effects of the thyroid hormone would be too much for your body to handle. The balance keeps everything in order. So, where do these hormones come from? Well, at the front of your neck is a small organ called the thyroid gland. It looks like this. This gland is where the thyroid hormones are made. Both T4 and T3 are made here. Now, in order to make these hormones, the thyroid gland requires iodine, which should hopefully be coming from your diet. It also needs an amino acid called tyrosine. Then, through a series of reactions, you will get the end result, which is your thyroid hormones. Now, this process is controlled by what is called a negative feedback loop, meaning that your body is constantly keeping an eye on how much of these hormones you have in your blood at all times. If the levels get too low, it triggers them to get made, and once the levels are high enough, your thyroid gland will be told to relax and stop making any more hormones until levels are low again. Now, I did mention before that T4 actually needs to get converted into T3 in order to work properly. This doesn't actually happen in the thyroid gland, it instead happens within the organs that actually need them. So, for example, the liver or the kidneys. Okay, so now that we know what these hormones are and where they come from, we get to the main point, which is, what do we need thyroid hormone for? I did already mention that they are versatile hormones involved in a lot of systems in your body, but the main role it plays is actually in metabolism. Metabolism in the broad sense actually refers to all of the chemical processes that take place inside your body to pretty much keep you alive. And one aspect of this is how your body turns the food that you eat into energy, and thyroid hormone plays a big part in this. Thyroid hormones can directly impact on your basal metabolic rate, also known as BMR. This is the amount of energy that your body uses at rest to maintain the basic processes needed to keep you alive. So these are things like breathing, keeping your heart beating, cell repair, so on. So if you have more thyroid hormone, then you will get an increase in your BMR. You actually get an increase to energy production in general. So how does it actually do this? Well, it's actually through a few ways. When thyroid hormones enter the cells that they need to work in, they turn on genes that are involved in metabolic processes. This is quite a complicated process, but the end result is that because these genes are now turned on, the processes in your body can happen more efficiently and faster, meaning that your metabolic rate overall increases. Now, another thing it does is make energy production more efficient. It can speed up ATP production and also activates enzymes in your body that are involved in the breakdown of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins from the food that you eat. And if you remember a few videos back, I mentioned that when your body needs energy, it will break down storage forms of carbohydrates and fats. Well, thyroid hormone helps in this scenario and also makes the process of breaking down these storage forms much easier. All of these things will in turn increase the amount of energy, for example, the ATP that is available in your body, meaning that any processes needed to take place, such as repair of cells, can happen more efficiently, which is why the BMR can go up. Now, this actually leads us quite nicely into the next thing that thyroid hormones are needed for, and that is body temperature control. Because of the increase to BMR and just overall efficiency of reactions taking place in your body, the byproduct of all of these reactions is usually heat. And this will increase body temperature and make sure that you aren't too cold. Now, this needs to be perfectly balanced at all times, and there are systems in place to make sure it all maintains the right temperature. But you can imagine that maybe if you have too much thyroid hormone activity, your body temperature is at risk of going too high. So we've covered metabolism and body temperature. What else do we need thyroid hormones for? Well, it's something I have covered a lot in my videos, and that is your heart. Thyroid hormones have what we call a positive inotropic effect on the heart. Inotropic refers to the force of a muscular contraction. So if they are positively inotropic, they increase the force of heart muscles, which means that they can increase the strength of the heart, leading to more blood being pumped out with each beat. This means that your heart is more efficient at doing its job, which is great for overall heart health. Thyroid hormones can also increase heart rate, and once again, if the amount of this hormone in the body is not perfectly balanced, you can get heart issues. Moving on from the heart to the brain, thyroid hormones are needed for nerve cells to become fully developed in the fetal and early postnatal stages. So, if you are pregnant, it is important to make sure you have enough thyroid hormone so that your baby can grow and develop. In fact, it's not just brain development. Thyroid hormones are super important for growth and development of children. You need them for bone growth, the development of organs, and just overall growth in general. So throughout pregnancy, it's important to make sure that you get enough for the baby. But once the baby is out, the importance of thyroid hormone for your little one continues. Now, thyroid levels are something that can be easily checked through a blood test, and during pregnancy, this is something that doctors tend to keep an eye on. So those are the main things that thyroid hormone is needed for. As you can see, it's involved in so many areas, and I haven't even covered all of them. There's a couple more things I want to go into in terms of how it can impact on weight loss and reproductive health, but those are things that will get their own videos, so subscribe to make sure you don't miss them when they come out. But the point of this was to show how important thyroid hormone is to health, and I kept mentioning that it's all about balance, because if your levels go too low or too high, you can get some serious impacts on your health. It's another one of those things that I believe you need to keep an eye on and make sure you're taken care of to play the long game with health. Now, I will wrap things up for now, but this isn't the last that you will hear about thyroid hormones. I will be putting out a few more videos, and the next one will cover what actually happens when your levels are out of balance. But if you learned something or enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I will see you next week, and until then, keep playing the long game.